Samsung Galaxy S21 Fan Edition all of a sudden has become a device of immense importance, especially after the company's plans of launching the S22 Fan Edition seem to be going down the drain. This might potentially be the last Fan Edition device we'll get from Samsung, and for that reason it's really important to go back and look at this device from a long-term perspective. If you're watching my channel for the first time, please subscribe and press the bell icon. Also, if you find this video good enough, do hit the like button too. Alright, while sharing my own experience, I'll try to answer all of your queries too. Let's talk about the build and feel of this phone after months of usage. As you guys know that it inherits its design from the S21 lineup, it looks and feels really premium, and to date, I have never felt like using a cheap phone. It's a premium phone by all the means, and I am a very rough user, especially when it comes to exposure to the water, and I have found out that the water resistance of this phone is pretty solid. I guess it won't be relevant to talk about the buttons and ports, but I would just like to reiterate that if it's got a headphone jack, it ain't a flagship, and S21 Fan Edition is kind of a flagship, a sub-flagship to be more precise, which definitely means it doesn't have a headphone jack. The lack of headphone jack is okay, at least to me who's moved on to wireless earbuds and doesn't really like using wired headphones. But what I don't particularly like about this phone is the lack of micro SD card slot. Whether you have the 128 gigs or even the 256 gig storage variant, you will eventually run out of it. Remember, there isn't a 512 gigs variant of this phone. Apparently, Samsung has put in a dynamic AMOLED screen in this phone, and I was expecting this dynamic AMOLED screen to have a variable refresh rate, which is unfortunately not the case with the S21 Fan Edition. It either runs at 120Hz or 60Hz refresh rate. Now, many of you have been asking me about the screen refresh rate bug. I have never seen any screen refresh rate issues on my phone. The only issue that I am aware of is when I restart this phone, it takes a while for the 120Hz refresh rate to kick in. Till that time, the phone keeps running even below 60Hz, and that is kind of annoying. I don't know if it's just normal or it's a bug. The display otherwise is really beautiful. The brightness is top notch, resolution, colors, everything is top notch. There is HDR10 support too, and I really like the bezel profile of this phone. One good thing about the display is the protection of Gorilla Glass Victus. If you remember, the original S20 FE brought the Gorilla Glass 3 on the front, and that was a bummer. Gorilla Glass Victus makes the screen of the S21 FE stronger. There's nothing special about the fingerprint scanner of this phone, it's just an ordinary scanner that does its job well, and I do use Face ID unlock in addition to the fingerprint scanner on all of my phones, and I recommend the same to you guys. Haptic feedback of the S21 FE is good. The haptics motor produces a clicky feedback that you will definitely like. Now, I have talked a lot about the software of the S21 FE in my previous video, so I won't be talking about the software features today. I would like to remind you guys that this phone will get Android updates up to Android 16, and it supports 5 years of security updates. Now, this is a big advantage because even the original S21 series doesn't qualify for 4 years of Android updates. The S21 FE just happens to be a lucky device. My phone's software has been running smooth and lag-free. One UI 4.1's animations are really smooth, and in my opinion, this is the best looking and most practical UI and software for an Android smartphone. Samsung has added the full-fledged flagship software experience to the S21 FE, which is why you get top-notch features in the camera app like the 4K at 60 frames per second video recording for both the front and rear cameras, the dual video recording mode, super slow-mo with motion detection button, the portrait video, and the pro mode with raw format, and many other features. The camera result of the S21 FE is pretty good. I can't comment whether or not this phone's camera result has improved over time because I found it pretty consistent since day one. The ultra-wide camera is not that great. I mean, it's not on the level of a flagship device. I think that's where Samsung can improve a few things. Video stabilization of this phone is pretty neat in all of its resolution modes, so I believe you can definitely keep this phone for all sorts of photography and videography purposes. Let's talk about the most important thing, the performance and thermals. Many of you are still skeptical about the Exynos 2100 on this phone. Exynos chipsets are not known for anything good, but Samsung did improve a lot of things with the Exynos 2100 when they reinvented the Exynos chips. S21 FE delivers top-notch performance and it reflects while performing heavy tasks on this phone. You can run heaviest games with graphics set at max. The games run smooth without any lags. But all this doesn't mean there's no downside. Unfortunately, the Exynos 2100 still heats up on excessive usage. I would like to stress upon the word excessive usage here. And when the phone heats up, it causes many other issues like battery drain, and sometimes the refresh rate becomes choppy. I did not experience extreme heating while playing the games, however the phone did heat up to 48 degrees upon performing a software update. This is when the phone became untouchable, but I think all the phones heat up while performing software updates because it's a resource intensive task. Let me know if you guys find this something unusual. I would love to hear you out. Another thing that you guys are worried about is the longevity of this phone while it's equipped with the Exynos 2100. Here I would like to talk about my S21 Ultra that I used for 1.5 years. The phone was powered by Exynos 2100, first Samsung phone with this chipset, and I must admit that I was a great fan of the device. Be it the performance, the stability, the thermals and the battery performance, my S21 Ultra only improved with time and I expect the same from the S21 FE. I sincerely hope Samsung only improves it from here on. Having said all that, the Snapdragon variant of the Galaxy S21 FE, the one with Snapdragon 888, in my opinion is still superior, but its downside is the limited availability. Let's talk about the battery performance now. To understand the battery output, you have to take into account the hardware combination. I mean, it's an Exynos 2100 powered phone with a very bright and decently sized AMOLED display, and the battery is relatively small, just 4500 mAh. You shouldn't expect a lot from this phone at first, but if you are still interested in the numbers, the max it's gonna give you is 7 hours of screen on time with moderate use and about 5 hours and 30 minutes with intense use. So you should be getting around 6 hours of screen on time, and that's what this phone has shown in 2 of my battery drain tests that are already published on the channel. Remember, I am talking about the screen on time, I am not talking about the standby time or something else. If you just use your phone for like 5 or 10 minutes or even 30 minutes in a day, the phone should be able to last for at least 3 to 4 days while it stays in the idle mode for most of the time. 4500 mAh battery is pretty small and it barely takes north of 1 hour to charge it from 0 to 100%. And with this we reach the conclusion. When the S21 FE came out first, it seemed like an overpriced device, but with time its price has come down. For example, on Amazon you can pick up this phone for about $620 and it was down to $590 at one point. And from Amazon in the UAE or Dubai, you can pick up this phone for about $570. I know the price hasn't come down in most of the countries, but I believe sooner or later rest of the countries will definitely follow and the price will fall in all those countries, and in that case this device would make absolute sense. So given that the price falls and comes down to about $500 in near future, the Galaxy S21 FE would be a great buy and it will become a true bang for buck, and I would recommend this phone without a second thought. That's all from my end. Let me know what do you guys think about this phone. If you still have any questions, drop them in the comments and I'll definitely answer. Like and subscribe if you haven't yet. With that being said, I will sign off and see you all in the next one.